Hey everyone, it's Blake. Welcome in to episode number 7 of our AEW 2022 save and TEW 2020. This is Dynamite for Wednesday, week 4 in June. And again, we kind of spread out some of our videos last week. Schedule was a bit all over the place, but we did have Road Rager here for this series. The AEW one, we added our next episode, our Fallout episode from the Mae Young Classic and our WWE series. And we did our return episode for our WCW 1998 series. So if you like any sort of professional wrestling, surely there's a little bit of something for you somewhere on the channel now with these different series we have going on. But this is the AEW one, and we are coming off of Road Rager, and there's a lot to get to. So let's go ahead and jump into it. As on the pre-show, it's Sammy Guevara getting the win over Matt Sydal, 8:07, hits the 6:30, 67 for a match here. And again, Sammy, one of those guys who not really in an in-depth storyline at this very moment, but that will change moving forward. So just, getting Sammy a win here. And as I always say, we kind of shuffle some people in and out when they're not in a storyline that's happening on this particular episode or maybe the next episode. But there is stuff to come with Sammy, and I promise it won't have anything to do with Scorpio Sky. So that's the pre-show, 67 for that one. And let's jump into the main card, which starts with CM Punk. And it is an announcement as soon as we come on the air that the CM Punk will be here on Dynamite tonight to address what's next for him after the 6-man tag win with Punk teaming up with FTR, getting the win over the House of Black at Road Rager, coming off of all the stuff that's been happening, as we know, with Punk, the attack, Punk thinking that it was Malachi Black, Black denying it. We still don't have answers. We still don't know who it is. And we did kind of get a little bit of something, though, on at the end of Road Rager, which we'll get to here in a bit. But an 84 for this one. And so Punk will be here later on to discuss what's going on. And then we start the show off as we go straight to the crowd, and that is where we see Jake Hager coming through the crowd, and he has Eddie Kingston with him, and you can tell these two they're already like just sweating like crazy. They've got some Eddie Kingston's shirts torn, so clearly there's been a fight going on between these two, and we're just now starting the show. But it is Hager who has the upper hand here, and he brings Kingston through the crowd, and we can hear kind of commentary insinuating, well, does this mean that, we knew they were going to have this fight? Jericho sort of said that he was going to, give Kingston a match with Hager, but commentary kind of insinuates, does this mean that maybe Hager and the Jericho Appreciation Society got to Eddie Kingston, and now that gives Hager the upper hand here going into the ring? So they are going to have an official match. This gets a 57, and then so we get a brawl into the ring to actually start the match, and as for the match, it gets a 67, and it is Eddie Kingston getting the win over Jake Hager, 9:37. And, could have been a little bit better of a match here. We got a 67, Kingston off his game. We did do the wild brawl for this one. Seemed to make sense, given the two parties involved. But it is Kingston getting the win, so he continues kind of this trend of beating Daniel Garcia. He beats Jake Hager, and as he said, he's going to pretty much take out the Jericho Appreciation Society one by one. That is Eddie Kingston's goal. So he's done that with a couple guys here, and we'll see if that trend can continue. But despite perhaps getting jumped before the match even began and brawling through the crowd, it's Kingston getting the win here. And then we get a segment with Tony Schiavone, who is backstage in the interview area, and he is with our new TNT champion, Wardlow. And Schiavone kind of asking Wardlow, hey, you said what this would mean to you to become TNT champion, and Wardlow, just kind of staring at the belt over his shoulder, and a man of few words here, as Wardlow just says he's just getting started as he taps on the belt on his shoulder, and then we see kind of Wardlow start to make his exit, so he gets a 66 here. He's our new TNT champion, but as he begins to exit, here comes Miro, and it is Miro kind of staring down Wardlow as Wardlow kind of walks off the interview area here, and it is Miro who stares at Wardlow, then stares over at the TNT championship. 69, nice segment here So this gets the crowd going a little bit with this one. So a little bit of a tease here with Miro staring down Wardlow. And then we go to the ring where William Regal is standing in the ring with Wheeler Yuta, one member of the Blackpool Combat Club. And it is Regal saying that, at Road Rager, it was Bryan Danielson. Last week on Dynamite, it was Wheeler Yuta and Jon Moxley getting the win over the Young Bucks. Well, now we're ready for another fight. And he said it's Wheeler Yuta who's stepping up, and he wants to fight tonight against someone. And that is where Regal says, we know the contract's been signed. We don't know who signed it. But he says, Wheeler Yuta is ready for a fight. Bring it on. And we get a 50 here for this one. And who's going to face Wheeler Yuta tonight? Here comes Adam Cole, who reveals that it is Kyle O'Reilly who has accepted the challenge here for this match against Wheeler Yuta. And Cole doing well here without a script. We get a 66. So Cole, we've seen sort of the tension there's been there between Cole, who came out, stared down Bryan Danielson after his win at Road Rager over Lance Archer. It was Cole kind of coming out and just staring him down. We've seen Regal and Danielson sort of, interrupt Cole backstage, telling him he knows what he really needs to do if he wants to be elite. And so lots of back and forth here, and now we get a little more interaction as it's O'Reilly answering the challenge. So Kyle O'Reilly versus Wheeler Yuta. And in a pretty good match here, 69 overall, it is Kyle O'Reilly getting the win over Yuta, 14:07. The Brainbuster does it. We did do still the show here. We wanted these two to kind of go all out. We also kept Wheeler Yuta strong in this one. He's a little off his game, but that's okay. I thought this would hit, somewhere in the upper 60s, maybe low 70s at best. So a pretty good match here overall, considering the popularity and those kind of things for these two. But it is O'Reilly getting the win, and we've seen that sort of trend here with O'Reilly picking up a lot of wins when he's been in action thus far, whether tag team, singles action, and how does that play into the dynamic we've heard Adam Cole talk about with the Elite and needing them to be elite again. So O'Reilly gets the win here to kind of get maybe a one-up on the Blackpool Combat Club after that match last week with the Young Bucks losing to Jon Moxley and Wheeler Yuta. And then we also see a video segment here, as it is Stokely Hathaway wanting to know who's next for Jade Cargill, because she's coming off of her victory last week where she successfully defended her title against Athena. And it is Stokely just sort of stoking the fire here, if you will, and just saying, there is no one at this point that has proven that they can come close to beating Jade Cargill. And so he wants to know who's next. And he says that they will be waiting to find out who indeed is the next challenger for the TBS Championship. 55 here for this one. And then we come out on the stage, and it is Tony Schiavone, who welcomes in his special guest, none other than Christian Cage, who turned finally on Jungle Boy last week, as we know, at Road Rager, whenever it was the tag team championships on the line. Jurassic Express defends against Team Taz. It was Team Taz getting the win, and after the match, Christian hauls off, attacks Jungle Boy, a brutal beatdown. 68 here for this segment, but it is Christian sort of explaining his reasoning for attacking Jungle Boy. And I'm going to be honest with you, if you've seen Christian on the recent Dynamite where he actually did explain this in reality, there's no way I can match that. Like, that was fantastic. And so basically just take everything he said from that promo. I think it's the first time I've done this in any of my series. Like, that to me is just like way and above anything I could say right now, because that I thought was pretty much perfect. So basically it's just Christian explaining, he's in this for the money. He's in this for himself. He's not in this for Jungle Boy. He rode Jurassic Express to the top because they had the titles. He got better payoffs. And that's what it's all about to him. And so, I love the t-shirt too that Christian has out now. It's like worked everyone as opposed to outwork everyone. But we're going to add in, Christian's motto is he's going to outsmart everyone. And he's been doing that ever since he walked into AEW. And he's going to keep doing that moving forward because, he says, Tony, I've got some surprises in store for you and everybody else out there. So you can just sit back and watch me continue to prove why I'm one of the best to ever do this. So Christian, great promo here, and it gets to 68. So we will certainly have a lot to come after that development. And then it is Keith Lee and Swerve Strickland. Well, we can't just get out of the 60s here, can we? This is a show that's all about the 60s. Another nice rating, 69 here. Keith Lee, Swerve Strickland get the win over Private Party, 10:05 for this one. Tag team specialist bonus tier for Private Party, but it is Lee and Swerve getting the win. So they picked up a couple wins in our series thus far. Yeah, we've got some plans for them. But right here, it is a plan for a victory, and that's what they get against Private Party. And then we get Excalibur running down some of the lineups we'll see on Rampage, which will include Chris Statlander, who will be in action on Rampage. She's coming off of that win against Mercedes Martinez at Road Rager. And so Chris Statlander in action on Rampage. And then it is a video segment with Taz, hyping up his new tag team champions, Ricky Starks and Powerhouse Hobbs. Yes, they are officially the new champs. And Taz says that they have one goal in mind, and that is to destroy everyone, and they are going to run through the entire tag team division in AEW. They don't care who it is. It can be anyone. They're ready to face all comers. And Taz says he said it from the beginning. There's no one that can stop Ricky Starks and Powerhouse Hobbs when they're at their best. So that is just sort of your typical manager promo here for the new champions. 58 overall for our tag champs, and yes, certainly plenty to come for our tag champs coming out of Road Rager. And backstage, it is Tony Schiavone once again with his trio of friends here, Britt Baker, Jamie Hayter, and Rebel, and we are setting up for our big women's championship match, our AEW World Women's Championship on the line here as Thunder Rosa will defend against Jamie Hayter. Of course, we played that up with Schiavone announcing last week that it would be Hayter getting the shot against Rosa when Baker's just talked on and on and on about wanting that championship back. And Baker says, she's heard all the discussion out there, everyone thinking that she's somehow not happy about Jamie Hayter getting a shot at the AEW Women's Championship. And Baker says she thinks Jamie Hayter deserves the championship. And she says, if anything, now this guarantees that, the championship will be in our possession. And then, we'll figure things out from there once Jamie Hayter actually wins it. So Baker not ready to fully commit to kind of what her plans are perhaps here if Hayter wins the title. But she's just, talking up her friend here and just talking about, hey, at least we will have the championship. And then, we'll figure out what we need to do after that. So just kind of a lot of tension here for Baker, who really wants that title back, but is possibly staring down the scenario of her friend having the championship. And so that is your setup, 59 overall. And now we go into our AEW Women's World Championship match, and it is Thunder Rosa defending against Jamie Hayter, and in a 59 match, so decent overall here, Thunder Rosa gets the win, successfully defends against Jamie Hayter, 944. The reverse DDT does it. It's the third successful defense for Thunder Rosa. And, not a bad match here. 59, we did do, I think, still the show for them too. We really wanted them to try to go all out, have a great match. And one of the things we did here, and this is going to play into the story, we really trying to make Jamie Hayter look strong. So, this isn't a loss for Hayter where it comes by shenanigans or any sort of interference, anything like that. It's just her trying to out-wrestle Thunder Rosa and just coming up short. So that is important and worth noting, and you'll want to keep that in your mind moving forward here with this whole story that we are going to be working with Britt Baker trying to get her championship back, but she will not have it in the possession of her friends because Hayter unsuccessful in her match against Thunder Rosa here. So 59, not bad, but a lot of the matches on this card have just kind of they've been okay thus far. Not great, but it's okay. But things pick up a little bit here. We get into the 70s as it is backstage the Young Bucks who look, they're coming off that loss to Jon Moxley, Wheeler Yuta. They're not very happy, but they say that they've been doing a lot of thinking since they've lost this streak they've been on. They've not had a lot of success in the past month or so, and they said they know now what they need to do to get back on track. and it's just them, going on and on about they don't need to be where they are right now. They shouldn't be having these conversations after these losses and all these other things. They've got to figure out what is best for them, and they know what they need to do to get back on track. Now, as they're saying all this, here comes Adam Cole, who walks in with Kyle O'Reilly and Bobby Fish. So we have the super elite here all together. And it's, Cole just kind of interrupts the Young Bucks here talking. And Cole says, look, it's pretty simple. You just need to start winning. You need to start winning your matches like we've seen O'Reilly and Fish doing here recently. Kyle O'Reilly comes out, gets a win over Wheeler Yuta. And then Cole says, I don't want to be the one to point it out, but you guys lost to Wheeler Yuta last week. He said, I know Jon Moxley's involved, but it is what it is. And pointing out how O'Reilly and Fish, won their tag team match recently on Rampage. And so more tension building here, as you can probably think about kind of what direction things are headed in right now, with Cole really pushing the fact that the Young Bucks need to get it together and start winning matches so they can live up to what they're trying to, show the world here as the elite and being the elite. So Cole really pushing this idea, gets to 63, not great, but that is kind of what we're setting up here moving forward. And then in our main event match here, which, I didn't know exactly what to expect. Again, we just cannot get out of the 60s on these matches. I mean, it's just one of those things where I thought maybe some of these would hit, but, they've not been bad, but they're just not hitting to what we would have wanted. So in our main event, we pushed it last week that Sting and Darby Allin would be making their return, and they do here in a successful match, as it is Sting and Darby Allin getting the win over the Butcher and the Blade. 807, Darby Allin pinning the Blade there with this one. So good bonuses here from Butcher and Blade. A pretty good match. I mean, it's not bad. Again, it's just one of those that for whatever reason, this episode, we just cannot get out of the 60s in these matches. But it's fine. This was kind of, our setting up our main event match here just to get these two back involved. And we'll have a storyline with them moving forward here. It's just, as I said, it's just trying to get everybody on television right now and trying to figure out how to sort of juggle everything. But we've got an idea for really kind of changing that a little bit here in the future. But Sting and Darby Allin make their return, get the win in the main event, and so big victory for them upon their return. Another nice rating, 69 overall. I'm just going to call this the nice episode because everything's getting a 69 here. So, all right, and here he comes, hopefully to save this show in terms of ratings, because he gets a 100 again. And here comes CM Punk. We said he was going to make his way out. Eventually, he does here. And Punk comes out, by himself. He's no FTR. And he says, everybody's always kind of wondering now, should you be coming out here by yourself? Should you be doing all this without anyone around to help you, knowing what happened? Punk says he's not scared of anyone. And he says he sent that message to Malachi Black, the entire House of Black, and everybody else. If you want to come at me, you're going to have to beat me down to take away this championship. And he says Malachi Black and the House of Black proved they couldn't do it at Road Rager. And he says he's going to keep doing, what he's supposed to do as the AEW champion. He will fight anyone. And he's showing that, if you want to be a coward and attack me with the lights going out and all this other stuff, that's fine. But if you're standing here in front of me, I'm going to beat you. And this is kind of Punk just sending a message to all of his critics out there, or anyone who may be coming after him. And then he says, but let's get to the matter at hand. At Road Rager, we all heard it. After we defeated the House of Black, we all heard the audio, and we know who was on there. It was Chris Jericho talking about how I got, what I got. And it was coming to me, and it was going to happen to me at some point. And that Jericho says he's excited for what happened to me and that he knows who attacked me. And so Punk says, well, Chris, let's get it out in the air. You know who attacked me? Come on out. And why don't you tell me who attacked me? Because he says, I got a pretty good idea now based on what you said last week. So Punk really just, going at Jericho here after we heard the audio as we went off the air at Road Rager with Jericho seemingly talking to Jake Hager. And it was Jericho saying that, Punk got what he deserved and that he called Punk, basically an idiot for thinking that it was Malachi Black when Jericho knew that Malachi Black had nothing to do with it. So Punk calling out Jericho. Is he going to get a response? He does. So we go back-to-back here, 199. That's good to pick up this show a little bit from a rating standpoint. And here comes Chris Jericho. Just like Punk, he is by himself. And that's what Jericho points out immediately. He says, Punk, listen, if I wanted to attack you, let me just tell you, I've got 4 other guys back there that would come out and help me beat you into, submission here, basically. And I didn't do that. Why would I need to mysteriously attack you, Jericho says, when I could just come out and do it man to man? And he says, I would beat you right now for that AEW World Championship, because he says, I don't want anyone to forget I was the first AEW World Champion, and I'm still going to get that title back at some point. But Jericho says, what you really need to think about, Punk, is why would I be the one that would attack you, and why would I be the one, that you think did it? Because let's remember, someone put me talking to Jake Hager. Someone put that audio on, over the PA system last week in the arena. Why would they do that? Who's coming after me? And Jericho says, we have to assume it's the same person coming after me that's coming after you, because otherwise, how would that happen? And so Jericho is just kind of running through his whole basically theory here on what's happened. And he says, so we have to keep that in mind here, Punk. If I did it, again, you would know that I did it, and I could do it right here, right now. I could have all my guys come out and beat you down, but the fact is, somebody attacked you. Somebody clearly put something on me to record the audio of me talking to Jake Hager. He says, and I don't take any of that back. You did get what you had coming to you. All you do is come out and run your mouth. You do all this other stuff. But Jericho says, I know who did it, and I wasn't lying about that. And he says, next week, right here on Dynamite, I'm going to show you everything you need to see about what happened to you that night you were attacked right here on Dynamite. So Jericho basically telling Punk, give me 1 week. And when we come back next week, stand right here in this ring, I'm going to show you exactly what you need, and all your problems will be solved, because I'm going to show you who attacked you. I'm going to show you who basically bugged me to listen to this audio. And so Jericho feeling pretty confident here that he's going to have the answers for CM Punk next week here on Dynamite. So that's how we go off the air with Punk, kind of wondering, does Jericho, is he on to something here? And so that's kind of how we set it up heading into next week's edition of Dynamite. So we finish off strong here with 199. Jericho has perhaps some evidence next week. That is going to be a big part of the show. But this show was not very good. A 67 overall. So this one did not do great. And, the fans were annoyed at the amount of non-wrestling segments they had to sit through. So I think, we were penalized basically here for having too many segments. But to be honest with you, I kind of just needed to do that for this episode. It was going to happen. So I'm actually okay with taking the hit on this one. And this is the first time, I actually went into it. We could see the, you see how it's kind of split. And it's like, well, you're going to be penalized and that kind of stuff. Our number was a little bit lower than it needed to be to hit that threshold of what, the product is expected in terms of match percentage and versus angle percentage and all that. And this is one where, quite honestly, guys, I needed to get the stuff in on this show that I needed to get in. And some of the stuff had to run longer, so I was kind of willing to take the hit here, knowing that we were still going to gain popularity no matter what. It just was not going to be necessarily, an 80-something show, which, what was it? Was our last Dynamite or Road Rage or something? Something got an 85 or something, I think. So I was okay with sort of taking that a little bit for this one. So it's fine. I just needed to get in the stuff based on where our stories are headed and when we needed to get there. So I'm okay with it, knowing we were still going to gain size based on our popularity still in the lower 60s. So even at a 67, we gain size here for this one. So now, coming up next, of course, it is going to be Rampage for Week 4 in June. So let's jump into Rampage. And on to Rampage, and on the pre-show, it is Santana and Ortiz getting the win over the Wingmen. JD Drake Cesar Bononi, 7-14, 58. So not an actually bad match here. I think Bononi's popularity is like a 15 or something, and JD Drake's not that much better. So, but nonetheless, I mean, a decent match here. And again, going to my formula of using some of these tag teams that are not in a current storyline on the pre-show. So another one for Santana and Ortiz here as they get the win. And let's jump into the main card, which will feature a great opening bout, hopefully. Andrade, who is going to have a match coming up here with Frankie Kazarian. And it is Andrade with Tony Schiavone as we kick things off. And Andrade says he is going to prove his skills against Kazarian. He's going to show everyone just what Rush showed last week against Jay Lethal. And they're going to show why they are the next big things here in AEW. So Andrade, very confident heading into his match with Kazarian. And let's see what we get from that. And yes, I kind of thought it'd be pretty good. We should have put this on Dynamite, which, as we saw, struggled to get out of the 60s with the match ratings there, and with my own just booking way too many angles. But got to get my stuff in, man. So Andrade gets the win over Frankie Kazarian, 10-17, with a good match here. Like I said, just a really good match. We did do Still to Show. Remember, we have to keep putting these match aims in. We need to have 3 at least. So Still to Show has kind of been my go-to because we just have a lot of good workers in this company. So rather than having to do like the technical masterclass and the brawling, which we have used the Wild Brawl quite a bit too, because we do have some good brawlers. But I mean, Still to Show works a lot of the time because we have some great workers in the company. So that happens here, 71. So a really good match between these two, and that's exactly what we wanted here. But it is Andrade getting the win, and afterwards Andrade and Rush celebrating, and then it is the return, which does not do well here, but kind of to be expected, given that I think we rated everyone on fighting here, perhaps. It is the Lucha Brothers making their return after, we remember, it was Andrade and Rush who cost the Lucha Bros their shot at the Tag Team Championships, and now they return and they run Andrade and Rush out of there, who retreat, and that is your big return for these two, who are back in the mix and clearly, as we all expected, have their sights set on Andrade and Rush. So the Lucha Bros are back. Gets 49 here for this segment. And then we get a Excalibur running through some stuff coming up on next week's Dynamite, which will include Britt Baker, who will be in action next week on Dynamite. Of course, we know all the story involved there, but Britt will be in action on Dynamite. 72 here for that segment. And then, as we mentioned, on Dynamite, it would be Chris Statlander in action on Rampage, and here it is. Chris Statlander get the win over the Bunny, 638. The Area 51 does it there, so 58 for this one. I don't remember if we put a match note in here. No, we didn't need it for this one. So it gets a regular match aim, but Statlander getting another win as she's coming off of, building some momentum at Road Rager against Mercedes Martinez. Now gets a win over the Bunny, and we certainly do have some plans for Chris Statlander, which you will see play out here in the coming weeks. 58 for this one. And then it is also announced that next week on Dynamite, it will be Jon Moxley going up against Scorpio Sky. A big match here for this one, with Sky coming off his TNT title loss to Wardlow at Road Rager. Moxley has built up a lot of momentum lately, getting that tag team win with Wheeler Yuta against the Young Bucks on last week's episode of Dynamite. So big one-on-one match set for next week, Moxley versus Sky, 61 for this one. And that is where we get to this, which also does not do very well. Dan Lambert hyping up the return of Scorpio Sky and saying that if Jon Moxley thought that he was getting a normal Scorpio Sky next week, he's not, because he's getting a pissed-off Scorpio Sky after he lost his TNT title. And he's going to prove against Moxley that when he beats him, he's going to move right back up the rankings and have a shot right back at his TNT title. And then Lambert says he may even go after Punk for the AEW World Championship. So Lambert running his mouth as usual here and setting up our match next week on Dynamite. One-on-one, Jon Moxley versus Scorpio Sky. And then a pretty good match here, 60 overall. Bobby Fish gets the win over Lee Moriarty. So 9:47 here for this one as Fish gets the victory and, kind of playing off of Moriarty getting another shot at the Elite here after he lost that match recently against Kyle O'Reilly. Now gets a shot at Fish, but it is Fish coming out victorious. 60 for this one, as you would expect. We did go still the show here for this one as well. Turned out okay, 60 overall, so not bad. But a nice match here. These two, I think, good skills working wise for sure. So nice little pairing, 60 overall here for this one. And then it is a promo from Eddie Kingston. So we get a video promo here. Kingston saying that's 2 down. He's beaten Jake Hager. He beat Daniel Garcia, and he's still coming for Jericho. He says there's 2.0 in there, but Kingston says, do they really even count? He's still coming for Chris Jericho, and he wants to make sure Jericho knows that. They tried to jump him on Dynamite. They started basically a wild brawl, and it's Hager coming out. As we remember, they tried to jump him, but he was still able to come out on top. And he said, Jericho, just keep waiting and waiting and waiting, because I am coming for you, and I will get you very soon. So Kingston taking aim at Chris Jericho here, 67 for this one. And then in our main event, as mentioned, we were setting up on Dynamite that it would be Miro in action on Rampage. Actually, I don't even remember if I said that. I may have forgot to say that in the Wardlow segment with Miro, but that was my intention, was to tell you that Miro versus Trent would be our main event on Rampage. Coming out of that, as it would be announced, but I don't even think we announced it in the segment, so blame me for that. I told you, we've got a lot going on this AEW series. There's just so many moving pieces, but this is our main event, with Miro getting the win in a great main event. We should have made this the main event of Dynamite. Miro gets the win over Trent, 7-19. The Game Over does it. Just a fantastic match here, 78-7. And yes, we did steal the show as well. A decisive finish with Miro getting the win. So this was kind of your payback. Remember, Miro attacked Trent as well, leading up to that match against Orange Cassidy at Road Rager. And now gets the one-on-one victory over Trent here in our Rampage main event. So, I didn't do a wonderful job of building that up, but I should have said that more specifically on Dynamite. But this was our main event, and yes, it turned out very well with Miro getting another victory to kind of continue his dominant run here in AEW. And then we finish up here with a segment featuring Malachi Black, and it is another video promo here with Malachi Black saying that he is going to find a way to get his shot at the AEW World Championship against CM Punk. He calls what happened at Road Rager nothing more than a minor setback to the House of Black. And he says now the House of Black has their sights set on what they need to do to get back, to get his shot at CM Punk. Because as he says, the House always wins, and that soon enough, CM Punk and everyone else will figure out exactly what he means, and he said that's going to start next week on Dynamite. So what does Malachi Black have in store next week on Dynamite? We will find out, but he is certainly teasing something here at the end of Rampage. So 68 here for Malachi Black's promo, and that's how we finish up Rampage, which does get a 70, so does better than Dynamite, but as I said, that was to be expected, given that we had a lot to get in on Dynamite, and we went over the match/angle threshold there in terms of percentage. But 70 here for this one, and that is how we finish up Rampage. Now, let's see what we get to before we wrap up this episode. All right, so that was Dynamite and Rampage, and Rampage, just great show. Dynamite, great show. Both do well. Chavo divorces his partner. Apologies to Chavo on that. Sorry to hear. Got a lot of mail, it seems, here. Ethan Page loaned out to C4. Okay, that's fine. Alex Reynolds is back. Remember, he had the injury there recently in that tag team match. So he's back. Arn Anderson has an opinion. He's a big fan of Ortiz, so good to know Arn. Maybe we'll get Ortiz a few more matches on the main show instead of a couple pre-show matches we've had thus far. Matt Jackson has an opinion. Okay, great to hear, Matt. Glad to know you think Darby Allin has a future. I think, yeah, we've all established that at this point. So, yes, Darby Allin is pretty good, I think. So he likes his promos. Good to know there. Dynamite gets a 1.26. A nice rating for that one. By the way, some of the stuff we had leading up to this, it was Ricky Starks changing his style. So apparently he was a technician, I think was what his style was initially. He's now changed to entertainer, which to me makes complete sense because Ricky Starks is absolutely an entertainer. So that is perfect for me. And Penelope Ford is pregnant. So she's going to be leaving on maternity leave in 1 month. So congratulations to Penelope and Kip Sabian for their child. So there you go. All right, that's all our email. And that is how we wrap up this episode here of Dynamite and Rampage. So as always, be sure to like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. And on the next episode, it will be Dynamite and Rampage for a new month. But actually, before we get there, we will do what I do in all my other series, and that is a state of AEW for July, because that will be our next set of tapings. So we will be in July, so we will do a state of AEW for July 2022. And what I do in that, if you haven't followed the WWE series, I kind of go through, show you some of the popularity bumps, people who have gained popularity based on our shows thus far. I give you kind of an update on the size. We'll look at title prestige, storyline heat, all that stuff. That is going to be our next episode. Then it will be week 1 in July for Dynamite and Rampage. But you guys seem to be enjoying when I do those for the WWE ones. Those actually do just as well as some of the other stuff. So everybody kind of likes the state of that we've been doing on the other series. So we'll do that for the AEW one as well. And so you'll get a look at everything kind of behind the scenes in terms of ratings and all that kind of stuff. So we'll look at that in the next episode. So again, be sure to like, share, subscribe. And as always, I appreciate you guys. So much great feedback on this series thus far. Be sure to check out the WWE 2021 series and the WCW 1998 one, which is back, and all that good stuff here on the channel. But coming up on the next episode of our AEW series, it will be the State of AEW for July 2022.